Okay, so the first question, why do you have such an interest in karting, and could you tell us a little bit about the history of Comet kart sales?
Yeah, Comet kart sales started in 1958 with my dad. Actually started totally by accident. He was a drag racer just locally, nothing national or anything like that. And a guy came by one day. My dad had a welder, and a guy came by that my dad knew to have a go-kart welded. And at that time, nobody really even knew what a go-kart was. So my dad welds this guy's go-kart up, and my dad asked me if he could take a ride on it. Well, back then obviously there weren't a lot of police around in Greenfield, so my dad fires the things up. He goes up and down the street a little bit, and that was actually almost the last time my dad ever drag raced. So from there he built his first kart, and then another kart, and another kart, and he was doing all this out of a one-car garage and a carport. And then he kind of took over Mom's house, and pretty soon there were go-kart parts in the living room and the kitchen and you name it, and she ran him out of there. And in 1968 he built the building where Comet Kart Sales still stands today. So we've actually been here since 1968, and it's been a really good business. It's an affordable motorsport, relatively speaking to what motorsports are, because motorsports aren't cheap, especially when you get into the higher forms. So karting is just a really good way to get into motorsports, and all the same sciences apply to it.
Yeah. What do you personally like best about karting?
Well, I mean, I like winning.
Winning.
As in any sport, you want to win. So obviously the winning is the rewarding part, but you really kind of got to get beyond that, because not everybody's going to win. So a lot of it's camaraderie, meeting a lot of good people. I mean, karting's really a family sport. I mean, most people that are in upper forms of motorsports today that are professional race drivers came from the sport of karting, whether their intention was to ever go past the sport or be able to move up. It's hard to say. I mean, it's different for everyone, but like I say, karting is affordable, and people get into the sport, and some of them move on, and some of them choose to never try to move on. They're happy to be where they are, because it is just a lot of things that you can share with other people, and you see a lot of people come to the track where it's literally the grandkids and mom and dad and grandma and grandpa, and they'll come, maybe they'll camp for the weekend and race, or maybe they'll just come for the day, or grandma and grandpa will come later and come watch their grandkids race, or watch their son. I mean, a lot of cases we have grandkids that are racing and dads racing, and sometimes mom's racing.
Yep.
So, because there's different categories and classifications, so it kind of lends itself to everyone being able to partake.
Yeah. Karting's kind of a jumping off point to higher levels of motorsport, right? Did that help prepare you for your stint in IndyCar, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly teaches you racecraft. Going from a 400-pound karting race car to a 1,600-pound race car is certainly a different sensation in regards to the weight and how it moves around under you and things like that. And karting, I equate a lot to motocross, really, because you don't necessarily always have to have the best race car to win the race when you're in karting, because of the weight of the vehicle.
Yeah.
But typically, when you watch a motorsport race where it involves a 3,000-pound stock car or a 1,500-pound Indy car, the car becomes a lot more important all of a sudden, just because of the physical fact that you can't kind of coerce the thing to do what you want it to do. It's definitely its own creature, and that's where all the engineering and everything comes into play. And engineering certainly comes into play in the sport of karting too, but you can horse the thing around a little bit, because the driver's about the same weight as the vehicle.
Yeah. Okay. What opportunities does karting offer people that want to be involved in racing, either behind the wheel or behind the scenes?
Well, I mean, it's definitely an exercise in engineering. Karting, when it comes to the race car itself, I mean, you still have four tires, just like on any other race car. And the object is to utilize all four of those tires to the maximum potential as far as level of grip, and then getting it, you go into the corner, it's what you call transfer, and you do the same thing on a race car that you do in a kart. I mean, you want to transfer the weight of the cart or the weight of the race car to rotate through the corner so that it accelerates off the corner without absorbing the energy that the obviously that the engine's providing. So you got caster, you got camber, you got what's called toe in and toe out on the front end. You've got ride height, which raises and lowers the car, which is the same thing as roll center. You got different stiffnesses of axles nowadays in karts, which is no different than changing the spring rate on a race car where you've got springs. You got tire pressures. You can move weight forward and backwards in the kart just like you can in a race car. You can move it left or right. So I mean, it's a science project for sure. It's just not as expensive of a science project.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so you built Newcastle in 2003. What made you decide that you wanted to build a racetrack?
Well, I was fortunate really to get to race professionally for about 8 years, and I was able to save some money, and that allowed me to have the money to go build Newcastle track. But the reason I did it, more than anything, I mean, period, was to give back to the sport, because what's happened with karting is karts have gotten a little bit physically bigger. They've definitely gotten a lot faster, and all the tracks that were currently being used within the Midwest were primarily built back in the 60s, some of them in the 70s, and the karts have outgrown the racetracks physically. I mean, the karts are faster, they're wider and everything, and so everything we had around here was really, unless they went street racing or went to a huge parking lot or something, you just couldn't really enjoy the kart as much as the kart was designed to be enjoyed, and you couldn't, really haul the mail with the thing. You couldn't really get up to speeds that the thing were capable of getting to. So I wanted to build a track that more accommodated what karts have become. So that was really the main reason for doing it.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's awesome. In your opinion, what would you say? Would you say that interest in karting has increased or decreased over the 10 years that Newcastle's been open? Like, what do you think?
Oh, I think since we built the racetrack, in this region for sure, karting's increased some, because it gave people a place to be able to go enjoy their kart.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm proud about the racetrack at Newcastle is we have really clean restrooms, which may sound like a trivial thing, but I think anyone that's ever been to most racetracks can go out there and actually be happy of the fact when they get there that they have a nice place to go to the restroom, and we have excellent food out there. We have an environment inside where when it's real hot outside, we've got the air conditioning on. If it's cool outside, we've got the heat on. We've got big screen TVs. I mean, we've got some games for the kids, and we've got a patio area out back to sit and watch the races right in front of where start-finish line is at. It's free admission to come out, so you can come out and spend an afternoon or however long you want with your family, and have a hamburger and a Coke and watch the races. So we just try to do everything. I've been all over the world, literally all over the world, racing cars, and in fact karts. I've been to Europe 3 times racing karts, but I've been to Europe. I went to race Le Mans in 1996 with Chrysler in France, and so anyway, I've been all over the world racing, and to go to these other tracks, whether it was in the United States or over there, I saw a lot of the things that I felt like were really shortcomings, and was really surprised for some of the facilities how I don't know, deficient they were on creature comforts. So when it came to Newcastle, I tried to do everything that I felt like everyone else had not done, and I'm pretty proud of what we got out there. It's a nice place to hang out.
Yeah, it definitely is one of the nicest racetracks I've ever been to. I love it. It's great. What do you think the biggest challenge that is facing karting today?
Controlling cost. I mean, controlling cost is definitely the hardest challenge. I mean, unfortunately, as cost goes up, we absorb on our profit margins, but we have to stay in business. So at some point, you have to raise the price, and we do our best not to. But the fact remains, it's a choice between staying in business or just giving stuff away. So, cost containment's a problem. The other thing's technology. Believe it or not, in karting, it does get more complicated as people become, quote, smarter, and you put more things into the karts that create more technology that makes them go quicker, but also sometimes adds complications to them. So trying to basically pull back the technology and control the cost. I mean, a lot of the stuff that's made for the sport of karting, believe it or not, it's made in Italy primarily. And so we've actually, with the exchange rate being what it is, with the dollar not being worth near as much as it used to be, that when we send our money to Europe to buy product, I mean it really hurts our value. So we've tried to make a lot of this stuff actually within the United States now. So we've done a lot in that regards of trying to have products made right here in the USA.
Awesome. All right, that's all I had for you. I really appreciate